Birmingham Airport, May 31st, 2026, 8:47 a.m. The sky over Birmingham was the color of wet concrete. That particular shade of British grey that doesn't threaten rain so much as promise it. The kind of morning that makes sensible people stay indoors, drink tea, and wait for something worth stepping outside for. Birmingham Airport was quiet at this hour. It usually was. The odd private charter, a business jet carrying someone important enough to avoid the terminal but not important enough to close the runway. Airport workers moved through their routines without urgency. Security was light. The press was nowhere to be found. But the motorcade was already there. 3 black SUVs, government plates, tinted windows, engines idling, sat at the edge of the tarmac like they had been waiting all night. The airport workers noticed. They always notice things that don't belong. A few exchanged glances. One reached for his phone, then thought better of it. They had seen dignitaries arrive before. They had watched heads of state depart under armed escort. But in all their years working that tarmac, not one of them had ever seen a motorcade arrive before the plane landed. That detail alone should have told the world something extraordinary was about to happen. The private jet touched down at 8:47. It taxied to a stop. The stairs descended slowly, and the first person to emerge into the gray Birmingham morning was not a diplomat, not a politician, not a celebrity trying to slip into the city undetected. It was a 21-year-old girl from Manila with a tennis racket and a flag she hadn't unpacked yet. Alex Eala stepped onto the tarmac. She was tired. Long flights do that. Strip away the glamour and leave you with nothing but the weight of your bags and the fog behind your eyes. Her mother Riza followed close behind. Her coaches descended after. They moved the way travelers move at the end of a long journey, quietly, efficiently, thinking only about what came next. Practice. The grass courts. The tournament. The Birmingham Open was 2 days away. She was already running through the calculations in her head. The footwork adjustments for grass, the serve percentages, the players she might face in the first round, when she looked up and saw the motorcade. And then she saw him. The door of the lead SUV opened. A man in a dark suit stepped out. Not a driver. Not a security detail. Not a government aide sent to deliver a formal greeting on behalf of someone more important. Keir Starmer, Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, walked across the tarmac toward Alex Eala with his hand extended and a leather folder tucked under his arm. Behind him, his advisors scrambled to keep pace. Their faces wore a specific expression that exists only in the orbit of powerful people making unexpected decisions, equal parts pride and barely contained panic. "Miss Eala," Starmer said, taking her hand with a warmth that felt entirely genuine. "Welcome to Birmingham. I've been looking forward to this." Aya's eyes went wide. Beside her, Riz's hand flew to her chest. Her coaches stood absolutely still. "Prime Minister," Aya managed. I wasn't expecting. No one was, Starmer said, with the calm confidence of a man who had planned it that way. "That's the point." He gestured toward the waiting vehicles. "May I have a moment? There's something I'd like to discuss with you. Something I think you'll find interesting." Somewhere across the airport perimeter, a camera clicked. Someone had tipped off the press. The photographers who were not supposed to be there were already there, their lenses pointed at the tarmac, their fingers moving fast. By the time Starmer and Aya reached the SUVs, the first images were already moving through the internet at the speed of disbelief. Prime Minister Starmer greets Alex Eala at Birmingham Airport. British leader makes surprise visit for Philippine star. The captions were writing themselves. But no one, not the journalists, not the airport workers, not the advisors scrambling behind the Prime Minister, had any idea what was inside that leather folder. And no one was prepared for what came next. Inside the motorcade, 9:05 a.m. the SUV moved through Birmingham's early morning streets with the quiet authority of a vehicle that never has to stop for traffic. Inside, it was a different world. Insulated. Still. The city outside moved in slow motion through tinted glass while inside, the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom sat across from a 21-year-old tennis player and studied her with the careful attention of someone who understood exactly what this moment meant. Riza rode in the vehicle behind, her hands folded in her lap, her lips moving in a prayer she had probably been saying since Manila. The leather folder sat on the seat between them. "You're probably wondering why I'm here," Starmer said. Aya turned from the window. "The thought had crossed my mind, Prime Minister." He smiled, not the practiced smile of a politician performing for cameras, but something quieter and more genuine. "I've been watching your journey," he said. "Not just the tennis, the movement, the Eala Effect, as they call it. I've seen the flags in Rome, the chants in Paris, the tears in Melbourne. I've watched a diaspora find its voice in a 21-year-old with a racket and a dream." He paused. Let the words settle. The United Kingdom is home to over 200,000 overseas Filipino workers. They work in our hospitals, our hotels, our care homes. They sacrifice everything, their families, their comfort, their peace, to build better lives for the people they love. And for too long, they have been invisible. Aya's throat tightened. She had heard these words before in different forms from different people on different continents. But hearing them spoken like this, inside a British government motorcade, by the man who ran the country these workers called home, it landed differently. "Until you," Starmer continued, his voice steady. "Until the flags. Until the chants. Until the Eala Effect made the world stop and actually see them." He reached for the leather folder, opened it. Inside was a document. Official. Stamped. Sealed with the coat of arms of the United Kingdom. The British government is establishing a cultural exchange program between the United Kingdom and the Philippines, Starmer said. It will provide scholarships for young Filipino athletes to train in Britain, to study at our academies, to compete in our tournaments, to build futures they couldn't have imagined. He slid the document across the seat toward her. "And it will be named after you." The world went quiet. Or maybe it didn't. Maybe the city outside kept moving, the SUV kept rolling, the advisors in the front seat kept fielding calls. Maybe none of that stopped. But for Alex Eala, sitting in the back of a British government vehicle with an official document in her hands and her name printed in elegant script beside the words Alex Eala Scholarship Program, the world was completely, perfectly still. "Prime Minister," she whispered. Her hand was over her mouth. "I don't know what to say." "You don't have to say anything," Starmer replied simply. "Just keep fighting. Keep waving that flag. Keep making them proud." He leaned back, his expression settled and sure. "The rest will take care of itself." The motorcade continued through Birmingham. Outside, the city was coming alive, the streets filling, the morning shifting, the gray sky holding its breath. Inside the SUV, Alex Eala held a document that bore her name and felt the weight of something she had never asked for and couldn't fully comprehend. She had come to England to play tennis. She was becoming something else entirely. Edgbaston Priory Club. 2 p.m. The press conference was called at short notice. The message went out at 1 p.m. Journalists were told only that the Prime Minister's office had an announcement and that their presence was requested at the Edgbaston Priory Club immediately. No details. No preview. No indication of what was coming. They came anyway because when Downing Street calls, you come. They speculated among themselves as they filled the room. Politics. Economics. A new policy announcement. A trade deal. The usual machinery of government. A few of the more connected ones had seen the airport photos circulating online and made vague guesses about a goodwill gesture, a symbolic moment, the kind of soft power move that plays well in the news cycle and disappears by Thursday. None of them guessed right. The doors opened at 2 p.m. precisely. Keir Starmer walked to the podium. Alex Eala walked beside him. The room went from buzzing to absolutely silent in the space of 3 seconds. "Ladies and gentlemen," Starmer began, "thank you for coming on short notice. What I have to share today goes beyond sport. I believe it will resonate far beyond the walls of this room." He didn't rush it. He understood the architecture of an announcement, the way silence builds pressure, the way deliberate pacing turns words into events. Alexandra Eala arrived in Birmingham this morning. She is here to compete in the Lexus Birmingham Open, to chase her dreams on the grass courts of Edgbaston. But her impact has already been felt long before she picks up a racket. He turned briefly toward her. The Eala Effect is not a tennis phenomenon. It is a movement. It has done something rare and necessary. It has made visible a community that has long been invisible. The overseas Filipino workers who have given so much to build lives in this country. The nurses, the caregivers, the engineers, the parents who haven't held their children in years because sacrifice requires distance. His voice dropped. They deserve to be seen. Alex Eala made the world see them. He reached into his jacket pocket and withdrew the document. The British government is establishing the Alex Eala Scholarship Program, fully funded, open to young Filipino athletes who wish to train in the United Kingdom, study at our academies, and compete in our tournaments. The first scholarships will be awarded this year. The room gasped. Cameras fired. Pens moved. This is not a political gesture, Starmer said firmly, preempting the inevitable framing. It is recognition. Recognition of Alex Eala's impact. Recognition of the Filipino community's immeasurable contribution to this nation. And a promise from this government that we will always stand with the people who make Britain stronger. He stepped aside. Alex. She stepped to the microphone. Her hands were trembling slightly. She gripped the edges of the podium the way you grip something solid when the ground beneath you feels uncertain. I came to Birmingham to play tennis, she began. I didn't expect any of this.
She paused.
Looked down. Looked up. I've been asked many times what the Eala Effect means to me. And I've always given the same answer. It is not about me. It's about the people behind the flags. The nurses working double shifts in hospitals far from home. The caregivers who hold other people's families together while their own families wait. The engineers, the hotel workers, the quiet, extraordinary people who sacrifice everything so that someone back home can eat, study, dream. Her voice caught. She steadied herself. They are the real heroes. I just carry their flag. She looked directly into the cameras, not at the journalists, not at the Prime Minister, but through the lens and into every living room and hospital break room and cramped apartment where a Filipino worker might be watching. Today, the United Kingdom carried that flag too. And I am grateful. I am honored beyond words.
She breathed.
To every Filipino who has ever felt invisible, you are seen. To every OFW who has ever sacrificed more than the world will ever know, you are valued. To every young athlete who carries a dream they're afraid to say out loud, your dreams are possible. This scholarship is not for me. Her voice broke on the last line. It is for you, Laban. The room erupted. Journalists who had covered wars and elections and the full relentless machinery of the world sat in their chairs and felt something move in their chests. Cameras kept rolling because the editors would want every frame. A woman in the back row wiped her eyes with the back of her hand and pretended she wasn't. Alex Eala, 21 years old, ranked 37th in the world, never won a Grand Slam, fresh off a difficult clay season, stood at a podium in Birmingham, England, and changed something. Not just the news cycle. Not just the conversation. Something. After the cameras, 3:30 p.m. the room emptied the way rooms always do after something significant. Quickly, efficiently, people already moving toward their next task. Officials shook hands. Aides exchanged cards. Journalists rushed toward exits with their phones already pressed to their ears, headlines forming mid-stride. Starmer announces Alex Eala Scholarship Program. British PM honors Filipina star. A bridge between nations. Alex Eala remained at the podium. She stood alone for a moment, looking at the document in her hands. The official decree. The seal of the United Kingdom. Her name, her full name, embossed in elegant black script beside the words Alex Eala Scholarship Program. She had held trophies before. Held them up for the cameras, felt their weight, understood what they meant. But this was different. Trophies mark what you've won. This marked something else. What you had made possible for people who hadn't been born yet. Anak. Riza appeared from the side of the room. Her eyes were red. Her cheeks were wet. Her smile was the kind that breaks open slowly, the kind built from decades of hoping. She moved toward her daughter, and when they embraced, quietly, without ceremony, in a room that was almost empty now, it was the most honest moment of the entire day. You did it, Riza whispered. We did it, Mama. Eala said into her shoulder. We did it together. Outside, the motorcade was already waiting. The same black SUVs that had carried her from the airport would carry her now to the hotel, where the Philippine flags were already being unpacked and the chants were already being rehearsed. The Birmingham Open was 2 days away. The grass courts of Edgbaston were waiting. But something fundamental had shifted. Alex Eala was no longer simply a tennis player working her way up the rankings. She was no longer simply a symbol, a young woman from Manila who happened to inspire a diaspora. She was now the namesake of a program that would outlast every match she ever played, every ranking she ever achieved, every trophy she ever lifted or failed to lift. She was a bridge. She was proof that the Eala Effect wasn't a moment. It was a movement. And movements don't stop when the cameras do. As the SUV pulled away from Edgbaston, she looked out at Birmingham through the tinted glass. The buildings were still gray. The sky still threatened rain. But the Philippine flags were everywhere now, in windows, in hands, pressed against security barriers by people who had no tickets to any tournament but needed to be somewhere near this moment. "Mama," she said quietly. "Yes, Anik? Do you think they'll remember me? Years from now, when the tennis is finished, when the rankings have faded, when the flags are folded away." Riza didn't answer immediately. She took her daughter's hand instead, the way she had been taking it since Alex was small enough to hold in both arms, and she turned it over gently, the way you hold something precious and familiar. "They will remember you," she said finally. Asterisk, not because of trophies, because of the scholarships, because of the doors you open for children who don.